This is Tareck Adeeb. It's time to go with the flow and bring you a short synopsis of the week ahead astrologically. And we can pat ourselves on the back that we made it to the end of the year. And it's not been an easy year. It really hasn't. There's been so many challenges, so many ups and downs, and that volatility is still going to play out, for the rest of the year, because we've got Mercury Retrograde. We've got Mercury Retrograde shadow that we're in right now. And, we've still got some intensity as well because Venus goes into Scorpio today. So because of that, we're getting this darker, well, not necessarily as bad as maybe some of the Scorpio we've experienced this year in the last couple of years. This is the last bit of it. But in terms of relationships, we can get into that energy of, enough is enough. We've been through so much right now. Venus rules relationships. And there's money as well. There's money stuff that's probably coming up. So it depends where it is in your house, in the system, in your chart. But still, we're in a situation here where we've got to kind of be cautious, but also real. It's a case of, like I say, enough's enough. There's so much intensity, the follow through, of all these years, and now we're moving into new times. And the good news is that it is better right now. I hope you're feeling better right now, because the Sagittarius energy, it is real, in the sense that we've got to have fun at this time, especially if it's the dark nights where you are. Then what better way than to celebrate or light a fire or have some sort of ceremony? There's a lot of understanding about the end of the year, how far we've come. And that's what the Yule log was always about. We're very close to close to the solstice. So, the idea of fire, the idea of light in the dark, awareness, the preparation now for the winter, if you're in that part of the world. Or if you're in, let's say, the southern hemisphere, it's a case of recognising that same process of what light is coming. So light is an essential part of this year, whether it's light from the winter, the summer where you are, or whether it's making fire to make light in the dark. So it is important right now, more than ever, to again pat ourselves on the back and go, well done. What a crazy year we've had. It also depends on your chart. It depends on how the planets have affected you. But still, it's been an uncertain year. And it's funny because we're still in this last tiny little grasp of this Uranus-Saturn square, which has been such a big feature of the last couple of years. So instability is still there, but mainly it's because of the Mercury retrograde as well. Now, that's obviously not happened until next week's new moon, but we're in the shadow period, so it's slowing down. And interestingly, Jupiter and Uranus are both slowing down somewhat right now as well. Jupiter goes direct at the end of this month, and Uranus goes direct at the end of next month. So it's like the final throes, the final light into the dark, the preparation, for what's coming in 2024. The Jupiter-Uranus conjunction. All the planets will be direct, when we get to the end of January. So it's like what was all retrograde is now all direct. So it's such a turning moment, this right now. Like I say, coming out of all that Scorpio, but with this Venus going into Scorpio today, I've talked about it quite a bit already, that this is the last part, this is the last bit, and a lot of it is to do with needs and wants. Can I do this anymore? Money, again, these are the things that are big in relationship. Obviously Scorpio is to do with sex as well, intimacy. So this need to connect, this need to get the boundaries sorted out. Neptune also going direct means that happens on the 6th, a couple of days from now. Also means that we're now moving much further into understanding, awareness of where we're going, because we are moving now into these next themes for the next couple of years. Interestingly enough, you look at, again, a year later, when you look at something like Bitcoin, at 41,000 now, at all-time high for the year. What a gain, you would have made at the start of the year compared to where we are now. And that is just part of what's coming, the emergence of crypto or regulation, or Web 3.0. NFTs are going to start coming back, I'm sure, with Pluto and Aquarius. So we're really going to be moving now into new times, much more technological, prolific times. And again, when we're remembering or reminiscing about an old world, especially things like Christmas or holiday celebration, then we've got to celebrate. We've got to make sure we make time, because it is still weird right now. I mean, like I say, Neptune going direct is going to help. We're moving into more definition, but that Mercury retrograde is going to just cause a real clangor in it all, where we still can't necessarily put our foot to the pedal as such. So it's about reflecting a retrograde. It's about reminiscing, let's say, people who've left, the planet. It's about understanding, what's coming, technology, these sorts of things rapidly coming with Pluto going into Aquarius. And that's very soon. Like February is going to look very different to how we are right now. April's going to really, really accelerate things. And then, all the movement of Jupiter into Gemini as well, into next year. There's so much coming next year that is new, that is the new world. So again, like I say, we've got to be on the ground as best as we can. And sometimes that means, facing certain home truths. That's what holidays or, these sorts of events are all about. So that starts with you in your home, but also intimate other, and then family, friends, community. This is all, again, part of the Pluto in Aquarius, about community, who's in, who's out. And it starts with yourself, again, addictions, things like that, come up at times of the year when New Year's comes, in the sense that, have I moved on from those patterns now? Am I moving into a new me? Is there enough? And obviously these are all related to certain stages in your life as well. Saturn return, for example, we turn 30. 40, to 45, the Uranus opposition. Chiron return, we approach 50. All of these things can happen at this midlife crisis, or, again, the Pluto and Libra generation in particular, the people who have seen the internet before and the internet after. The millennials, the zennials, the Gen Z, haven't seen the internet. Before the internet, they don't know any world without it. So therefore, those digital natives are going to get such accelerated, not only because they're a fay, with the new technology that's coming, more adept to it, but also it's the election stuff as well. America still is playing a huge feature in the world right now with this Pluto return, the Uranus return in 2027. So again, the Ray Dalio stuff, the changing world order, how is America going to, move forward? And you think about millennials coming in next year with this election, it's a big deal. It's a regulation or whatever's coming, to suit this new voting dynamic is all very interesting. There's a lot to play for with the American election. So a lot of economic stuff, a lot of, again, trying to find allies right now, is going to be apparent. Like there might be some fantasy economics still propping things up. Sadly, the war in Israel, again, it was never going to stop completely. There still is going to be more fighting potentially, and obviously the worst case scenario is Iran. But we've got now until April to see how that plays out. These geopolitical things, what's going to happen with Zelensky, obviously Taiwan is the big one. We've got the Year of the Dragon coming in February. China will be becoming more involved. Let's pray that, how it all plays out is that there is a shift into, well, we can't ignore AI, that's definitely going to happen. AI is going to emerge with so much stuff next year that whatever is moving up will be on that world, the new world, Web 3.0, NFTs, internet. You'll probably find more cryptos emerging with AI. They'll be hugely successful. Obviously commodities as well, will be safe if the war machine continues. I don't see how that's going to stop necessarily. But maybe regulation or some kind of shift into whatever's coming. You can see that Europe are very much promoting the CBDCs. So these are just so many things to consider, when we're thinking how next year is going to look. But right now, what we have to do is to consolidate. It's like some of us might have to lick our wounds, if we've gone into separation, breakup, or hard economic decisions, or whatever it may be. There's separation going on with this Venus in Scorpio right now still. Or deeper intimacy, right? Even more allies, and that's the thing. When there are conflict, and luckily we're really coming out of the Scorpio energy completely next year. So we still have Uranus in Taurus, that's the problem. But Jupiter will be coming out of there, and, this war machine, the energy of it might dissipate somewhat. But, in my mentorship program that I did when we talked about China, the Taiwan piece is up for debate. You know, how that is going to be transferred or how that's going to be played out is the unknown, and it's going to come to a head at some point, but maybe not next year, more like 25, 26. We know that May 26 is the year where shift and change would be so dramatic that, you know, are we going to have Metal Mickey walking down the street, you know, serving us, getting rid of the rubbish? Or are we all going to have a little AI, you know, in our house, you know, drones dropping stuff off? It's hard to say. You know, certainly Web 3.0 is going to be a huge feature. You know, regulation in the crypto space is coming, ETF, for example, all that kind of stuff. So there's never been a better time to be making adjustments now. And that Venus in Scorpio, excuse me, can help because it can get rid of what is no longer required. So this month, got to face the home truths, you know, got to face the facts, you know, the bottom line, as they say. And, you know, again, the relationship stuff's been such a feature, you know, for so many years, especially this year. But this is the final round of it. So get ready, you know, for that. And make space if you're not ready to deal with it, because this too shall pass. And like I say, you know, Venus moving faster now, you know, coming out of this retrograde phase this year and opposing Jupiter, for example. Again, this Jupiter-Uranus conjunction, you know, that's coming in April, is going to be so significant in terms of how the world is moving. You know, wars are good for the stock market. It's been good for crypto. You know, this is the problem. So there is currency wars going on, and you know, we just got to keep praying again for peace and trusting that there is a solution to these problems, and it's up to us at the end of the day. You know, we're the change, we're the ones who can make the difference in the world, and it starts with yourself, and it starts with being honest, communicating. You know, what it is that you need and want, and again, it's the bottom line, and that's what it's kind of brutal about Venus into Scorpio, really. And that's really it until we get to next week. For this week, and then we get the new moon starting in Sagittarius. We're in Sagittarius season anyway, but because of that Mercury retrograde going exactly at the same time next week, it still is a bit weird. You know, everything still is nebulous. There's a lot of mutable energy that's not solid, that's not fixed, you know. And the best thing to do at times like this, open up, surrender, trust yourself, forgive yourself, and you know, let love in, you know, as much as possible right now. And, you know, and beginnings and endings, this is like the end of the year. Then we've got to kind of like look back and think, you know, where we were this time last year. You can't have regret, you know, if you were thinking about, let's say, taking a punt on a certain, you know, whatever financial investment. You've seen it double, you've seen it double whatever, and you didn't do it. You know, that's just okay. That's just called a reflection, you know, an understanding of learning. Likewise, if you have done that, you've taken that opportunity, you know, you can maybe cash out, you know, and have a little bit of security for the rest of the year. You know, these are the sorts of things that you might have to do as you prepare for 2024, which seems to be incredibly expanded, you know, incredibly possible fortune, you know, for people in 2024. So you want to be on the right side of this wave, you know, you want to be prepared now. And in this time of uncertainty, you know, the only thing we know is change. So volatility will be a big feature still. And things will pop and things will transfer. And you know, you talk about the great transfer of wealth at the moment. The realities of things popping, you know, housing market, things like that. You know, these are all the things that we have to deal with as sovereign beings on the planet. And we've got an election coming up. So obviously, if you're in America, it's a big deal. It's in England too. There's going to be an election in England, I think, in 2025. So these are the big power structures against the upcoming power structures. Emerging economies are getting hit hard by inflation. And we're seeing prime ministers in the world, you know, who've got big ideas or, you know, let's say more right-wing, let's say, or new technologies. You know, we're seeing all of that happen as reactions to this changing world order. So trust yourself. Know that you're here for a reason. Use this time as celebration. Remember, people count, you know, and all the journey that you have with someone, it has a meaning to it. It has an evolution as well. So reinvent if you need to, if it's the time to reinvent. You know, for example, like when you get married, you could forget to go on dates. So you got to make time to do things like that. You can get frustrated as well when we're looking at this changing world and you get to the end of the year and you haven't achieved what you wanted to achieve. But always focus on gratitude. You know, it's the little things that you do on this planet that make a difference. And it's recognizing those differences and trusting yourself and being calm and finding something to be grateful for. And then the whole universe can open up to you. If it's just not the right timing to get what you want, you can reflect right now on what it is that you want. It's not a time to be putting the foot to the pedal. It's a time to be taking the foot off the gas, having a look around you. And if you need to reassess and readjust for next year, then yes, it is time to really start focusing on that. And we could use the winter solstice on the 21st to let go of a lot of things as we get ready, because things will dramatically change. I mean, when we get to February, it's a very, very different looking year to what 2023 was like. Expect volatility, expect adjustments, but wow, it's never been a better time actually to make huge financial gains if you are studying what's going on in the world. Likewise, in terms of your business, pivoting into this AI will be remarkably good for you. So just prepare, just get ready, make time for all of these things. So yes, we're moving towards the end of the year, and you know, when I think about where I was this time last year, it probably is a bit more settled. I don't know how it is for you, but still, it's not gone exactly how I thought it was going to go. So I've got to just kind of, you know, accept that, you know, maybe lick my wounds a little bit. There's certainly been a lot of loss for me, you know, for everyone who's gone through this this North Node, Scorpio, Taurus. We're really out of it now, you know, really are. But we're moving into the year of the dragon. So that's it. It's not going to stop in terms of big change and big things happening. You've just got to cut away the chaff, as they say, even though we do that in harvest time. But we've got to remember and recognise what is no longer working to make sense for what is coming. And that means you've got to focus and you can't do everything. So just a time for reflection. Try not to beat yourself up. Try not to stress yourself out as well. Spend time this month remembering what counts. Celebration, family, friends. We need a day off sometimes, you know. And with that said, be your way to show the way. Peace.